Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general mid-month reading for the sign of Aries, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the last 2 weeks of June. I hope you will. We're using the Wild Unknown deck for you today. Now, if you haven't seen these videos before, I structure them slightly differently to the way that I do the main monthly read, in so much as we are looking for the lesson. I believe that every situation we find ourselves in contains a lesson somewhere. I think that's the whole point of us being here, frankly. So, over the years, I found it easier to navigate that energy if I can work out exactly why I'm in it in the first place. You know, what am I supposed to be learning from this? And sometimes it's teaching you something about yourself. Sometimes it's teaching you something about, you know, your environment, you know, whatever it is. Sometimes it's clearing the way for new things to come in by showing you how you need to release, you know, particular things. It's an exercise in perspective, really, I guess is the best way to put it. So to that end, what we will do is pull 3 cards for your current energy. We'll pull 3 cards for the lesson, what it is that you're supposed to be learning from this. And then we'll close it out with 3 cards of advice. I hope that that makes a lot of sense. I'm sure it will by the end of the reading, even if it doesn't now. So I try to keep these a little shorter, so I'm going to try not to pull any clarifiers either, but we'll see how we go. I'm open to breaking my own rules and all that. So I have 3 cards for Aries, please. Thank you. There is the first. We have the Daughter of Cups, which is the Page of Cups in a normal deck. Aries. Oh, that one flew out. And we have the Daughter of Pentacles. Quite a few pages going on here. And we have the Wheel of Fortune. This is beautiful, particularly in a reading where we're looking for the lesson, because some of you may or may not know, I'm a kickboxing instructor, in addition to a full-time tarot reader. And one of the biggest hurdles that I see when people come and start at my gym is frustration right from the off that they can't do, you know, a 720 tornado kick or whatever, right? It's they're all right for the first couple of sessions, but then after maybe the 3rd or the 4th or the 5th session, they're like, why can't I do this better? And it's like, well, do you know what? Because it's fucking hard. That's why you're teaching yourself a new skill. And you've forgotten that when you were a child, you used to grind things over and over again until you got better at them, right? And I think when you're a child, there's more of this openness to the idea that you're not going to be good at something, right? And as we grow and as we become adult, what we lose, what we are resistant to, is a return to that feeling, right? We're not very good at something. And one of the things I say most often is give yourself permission to be a beginner. It's okay. It's an incredibly liberating thing. And Aries, this is what I'm seeing here of you. You know, now you are the first sign in the zodiac, and you are, you know, associated with instigation and starting new things. But often you're coming from a place of, you know, having, you know, got to whatever age you are at now, and there's a certain degree of expectation of competence in everything that you start. And what I'm seeing here is a relaxing of that energy, and that is perfect. Absolutely perfect, Aries. It's what we want to see, because we have got these 2 cards here of new starts to a degree, but a certain new way of approaching something. Right? The Page of Cups for me is all about forgiveness and acceptance. It is, like I said, that relaxing of the resistance to the notion of trying to do something new. You are in fact accepting that here you are a signet, and you've got a little bit of time to go before you know, can elevate up to that level of swan that we all want to achieve. But it's there, and the potential is there. The potential has always been there. But over the years, it's kind of got covered with this, like I said, this expectation of competence that you've had. Sometimes you just need to dial that down a little bit. Now, being the Cups, it is dealing specifically with things of an emotional nature. So you might find yourself at this moment in time going, do you know what? I don't actually have all of the answers, and that's okay. I'm going to work them out. You might find yourself saying, oh, I don't really understand this situation, but I am prepared to sit with it until I do. You know, there's, rather than that very fast energy that we associate with the wand suit, and even with the sword suit as well, what we've got here are two cards of slowing down, of doing things a little bit more carefully than you have been doing before. You know, often the Aries experience is kind of, you know, your I don't know if you can see it on here actually, but here's your little totem there. I don't know if it's going to focus on it. It's the ram. And true to, you know, your animal, quite often the way that you have succeeded is by ramming up against things until you knock them over with sheer force of your will. Now, that's an incredible skill, and there are a lot of signs who could do well to learn from that, you know. But every sign needs to find a way to temper their instinctive urges and those that they are, you know, born with this predisposition towards, with the other end of the scale. And so for you, it does seem to be an element of patience. It does seem to be an element of acceptance. It does seem to be this slowing down energy, like we've spoken at length in the main monthly readings over the last few months about the fact that there's a maturation of the Aries energy going on. You're never going to lose, you know, what makes you quintessentially Aries, and neither should you. But, oh my God, excuse me. In time, that does develop and evolve and grow. So rather than butting your head up against everything, now it's like, okay, let me sit back, let me see what is worth my time, my care, my effort, my energy, butting up things and butting up against things, and what would be best. What's the word I'm looking for? I can feel the word, I can feel the shape of the word, but I can't actually bring it to mind. What would be best brought to bear, let's put it that way, by doing something differently, right? It's like picking your battles, picking and choosing where you put your energy. It's an element of discernment, actually, is what we're seeing here, Aries. And then we've got the Page of Pentacles, like another card that speaks very much of slowing things down, doing things more carefully than you have, you know, historically been known for. Page of Pentacles is also the card for me of a new start. It's starting afresh at something, giving yourself a permission to be a beginner at something. Now, what I'm seeing here is very much an openness to the new, but also a new approach in the way that you go about things too. And being that we've got this Wheel of Fortune here, which is a card that speaks to me specifically about learning lessons, it seems like you've changed quite a lot. I mean, 2020 changed everyone. Let's not fuck about. That's given. That's standard. But I think it's not finished. It's not finished for anyone yet. And it could be that perhaps you found yourself having changed more in this 6-month period from January to June than you did over the whole of 2020, because it's about the consolidation of the things that you learned during 2020, right? It was, the whole thing was a massive shit show, right? And there was a lot of very reactive energy. We had like 6 planets in retrograde at one point. I'm pretty sure there's quite a few in retrograde now, right? We've got Mercury, so that reflective kind of looking back, tying up old ends and stuff like that is a thing. But we've also got Jupiter going into retrograde. I'm sure Pluto is in retrograde, Saturn in retrograde, and that's like those two are a 6-month process there. There's an incredible evolution going on, and whilst this doesn't in any way actually signify the end of that evolutionary process for you, it does feel like it's the point at which now you are starting to see things differently, feel things differently, do things differently, plan things differently. And it seems to be setting you up for a much more peaceful existence, Aries. Now, as mutable fire, obviously you want, not mutable fire, sorry, cardinal fire, you're always going to be wanting to, you know, be pointing in the direction of travel, right? You're always going to be wanting to spring off. But this is about putting all of your energy in the right place, right? Picking the right things to be spending it on. Like I said, it's an incredible act of discernment. Process of discernment is what's going on here for you. So, I should draw your attention to the fact that we have the Chariot at the bottom of the deck here, and interestingly, it is followed immediately by the Six of Pentacles. Now, both of these cards, in addition to their other meanings, do speak about balance. They speak about that achievement of that point of equilibrium. And I think a lot of what has been going on for you in this last 6-month period is finding your own personal state of equilibrium, right? Regardless of what's going on outside, because like I said, 2020 was a shit show and everything was upside down and nobody really knew what was going on. And we probably don't really know what's going on anymore now, but what you have seen is a really, really valuable lesson, which is that you cannot control anything that's going on outside of you, right? Because it's being done on a global level. What you can control, and actually we'll see this on the micro level in terms of your relationships and things like that. You probably have experienced the same level of destabilization and instability on that micro level as well as the macro level. The only thing that you can control is yourself. To it, then finding your own personal balance is incredibly important. Now, the Chariot, in addition to that sense of balance and equilibrium and all that sort of thing that we're talking about, also speaks of the self, right? It is the card of the self, and maybe that's what's helped bring the equilibrium along for you, Aries, is that you have a better sense of who you are now than you did last year or the year before or the year before that, or maybe the decade before that, you know. It's a card that speaks of setting your goals and achieving your goals. You know, the thing that I like about the Chariot card is that for me it talks very much about shadow work. Right? The whole purpose of shadow work is integration of that part of you that you have disavowed, and usually we do it because it doesn't fit in with what we are told society expects of us. Now, a whole part of ourselves is then cast into was it Robert Bly, I think, described it as just a big sack of shit that we just carry around with us that we pretend doesn't belong to us at all. Shadow work is about taking responsibility for that which we have disavowed and bringing it back in and going, actually, do you know what? If we ignore it, we can't work on it, right? If we can't work on it, it's always going to be sat there in the background, being that subconscious driver of our, you know, acts and perceptions and all that sort of thing. Now, to me, the Charioteer then becomes that point of integration between the two polarities that we usually see depicted on this Chariot card. So we have, you know, the white and black and night and day and positive and negative and you know, all of the equal and exact opposites that exist. And you can't be a full integrated person unless you pay attention to that. And that Charioteer, like I said, it forms the point of that integration between the two parts of you. What I love about it in the wild unknown is that rather than that, you know, trifecta of Black Sphinx, White Sphinx, Charioteer, it's all embodied in one symbol here, and it is the horse, right? So you are making your decisions about where you are going and what you are doing, and you are undertaking all of the actions to get yourself there. Now, I feel an element of loneliness for some of you. Like it's felt like actually this 6-month period has been a little bit lonely, but there's a sense of empowerment that's coming with it now, because I do feel like you've spent some time reconciling this to yourself, and along with the insights that you've managed to get about, you know, who you are and what the fuck you're doing here and that sort of thing, you know. I think the way forward has become much clearer for you. And now you set your own decisions, and rather than having a charioteer, you are headed in a particular direction. Rather than relying on two sphinxes, you are the drive, you are the force. It's a very powerful card, and it is a powerful card of knowing who you are. It could be that you've come out of a period of shadow work, even if you didn't know that was what it was called, you know, that contemplation of all the bits of you, the forgiveness of all that which you have disavowed, you know, all coming into bear. All that, we've only got 3 cards on the table. Let's get some more. Let's have a look at the lesson for Aries. What's the point of this energy, please, for Aries? Right, we've got the Ace of Cups. I mean, that's beautiful. We have yet another card of the new here, and it is emotional. The Ace of Cups, you know, contains the full potentiality of, you know, the Cups suit. And in the tarot, the Cups are the vessels that hold the water, and the water is the emotions. Now, this is a genesis for you. It feels like everything's changing because you're changing the way that you're looking at yourself. I want to show you that we've got the 5 of Cups here that kind of spun out to the right. Now, I don't take cards that spin out to the right. I like them to jump to the left, right? It's my arbitrary rule. I'm sticking with it. We've got another horse there. Now, the 5 of Cups is all about mourning. It's about grief. It's about loss. Sometimes it's about bitterness and resentment and all those sorts of things as well. But it's like, it's really difficult emotional energy. It is focusing on that which has been lost rather than that which remains, you know. And we've just had that Chariot card depicting, you know, quite an opposite kind of energy at the bottom of the deck here. So rather than being in a 5 of Cups state, going for that renewal, right? Forgiveness, compassion for yourself, acceptance of yourself, warts and all bits of you. Because it's been teaching you how to take care of yourself, Aries. Like, you have in common with Sagittarius this need to be moving, to be out front, to be doing all of this. And there's a great deal of there's always a great deal of movement. Like, this is what you share in common with Sagittarius. And whereas Sagittarius is just running, right? And often they're running away from their past. You're possibly doing a similar thing, Aries, but you've always got something that you're running to. That's where you differ from Sagittarius. But ultimately, the reasons for doing it are kind of the same. You know? When we're talking about your shadow, control issues are always going to be present. It's always going to be something that you're going to wrestle with. You'll need to control your exterior environment rather than yourself, although we see you moving towards more of a level of self-control here. But also where that commitment issues, you know, it's almost like without a cause, Aries is lost. There's always got to be something, you know, there's always got to be some drama, there's always got to be some fire, or at least there had always have to be some drama and some fire. Otherwise you'd get bored and you'd wander off, you know. Wait, that is a low level indication of commitment issues. This feels like a return to self, a commitment to self, a commitment to all of the things that perhaps you've run away from. You know, the Aries energy is all outward all the time, right? All out. And for a lot of you, I think that you've discovered about yourself that that outward movement always was a way of avoiding going within, avoiding paying attention to what was going on within you, but not any longer. So we've got the Ace of Cups. Aries, lesson Aries. We have the Son of Swords. And we have the Four of Pentacles. We've got the Ace of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. That's the second ace that's appearing for you here. And notice how we have the Ace of Cups and the Daughter of Cups. We have the Ace of Pentacles and the Daughter of Pentacles. This is tapping into other elements. This is slowing down. This is becoming comfortable with yourself in a way that you have not been before. Because there's a new start here. It's a huge new start for you. I think with the exception of Capricorn, pretty much, and Leo, to be fair, every other sign had June as a really pivotal month for changing direction. Right? The new cycles were appearing very, very strongly for everybody there. Except apart from Capricorn and Leo. So it's been about a return to self. It's been about accepting all bits of yourself. It's about not running away from that anymore. It's about being able to now look to instigate a dialogue with yourself about the last thing that you've ever wanted to do. But nevertheless, you are now doing it. You are feeling brave enough to do it. But you are also sensing that that is where your peace lies. And this is important because we also have the Four of Pentacles here. It is teaching you that it is okay to let go of almost everything. And the thing that remains that you can control, that is important, that will see you through, is yourself. Right? Now, in some ways, you know, we should look to the fact that Aries is incredibly self-reliant, right? You don't look to other people to fix things for you. But there's been a resistance to fixing yourself. It's always been about like changing direction and, you know, heading off in a new way. But that self-reliance and that need to control Aries is often as a result of trauma. Yeah? It's a trauma 101 response. It's the response of someone who is not accustomed to having people around them to assist them. It is the response of someone who is very accustomed to being just sort of dumped off on the side and left to do their own thing, you know. And it could well be that you've been exploring these things and seeing how it has led to a particular mindset for you. Because as you become more accepting of yourself, as you are now showing the world the ways in which you wish to be treated, you can't help but change your perspective. Like I said, this whole thing is this huge shift in perspective here. And you show the world how you want to be treated by the way that you treat yourself. You know, and there are some people who will not pay any attention to that. But ultimately, because you have control of yourself, you can be like, well, I'm going to walk away from this situation because it doesn't really serve me anymore. You know, that's fine. You've probably never had much of an issue with doing that. But maybe it's given you an ability to be able to stay. Okay, rather than at the first whiff of trouble going, well, fuck this, I'm off. I can't control this. This is fucking awful. I'm leaving. You know, going, actually, what's going on here? Am I projecting? Am I doing this and the other? How far am I reacting to situations in the past that my subconscious is kind of picking up the threads of familiarity here for me? Because it does feel like you're starting to open up, Aries. And maybe you've got those people in front of you now that you can open up to. Or maybe this is a process of opening up to yourself. But either way, you are not the same person that you were when the new year rang in. And you're certainly not the person that you were at the beginning of 2020 either. And the way that I'm feeling about this reading, I feel like it's going to be another few months before what you are embarking on now, what you are giving yourself permission to be a beginner with now, beds in to the point where you're like, this is me now, this is what I do. You know, this is not me shoving myself out of my comfort zone to the degree that I have to give myself permission to be a beginner. This is actually who I am now. This is where I live now, and this is cool. Yeah. Let's get you some cards of advice. Some advice for Aries, please. I love that. Yeah. Start with the shadow card. We have the Six of Cups at the bottom of the deck, and we'll jump straight to the last card that came out, which was the Devil in reverse. For you, it feels like there are real traumas in your past, Aries, and I think that you've been carrying the burden of those for far too long. Like, what you are in at the moment, this transitional, evolutionary state that you're in, a lot of that is about turning this devil upside down. Those things that frighten you, that you need to be still for long enough for your subconscious to let you know this is the seat of your issues and this is where it stems from. Like, this won't come to you while you're dashing off really, really fast in any particular direction. Like, it just doesn't happen. It requires stillness. It requires being open to whatever messages come up from your subconscious. It's about being really present and checking in with yourself. Now, you're a fire sign, so you're pretty good at being present, but not so much with yourself. Maybe that's why there's all this furious activity around you all of the time, right? It's worth checking in with yourself and seeing what patterns you are replicating from your childhood and what the fears are that sit behind those, right? That's the only way that you're going to address this. But what I've really, really loved down here in terms of advice is that we have the Eight of Pentacles and we have the Emperor. And that's absolutely beautiful, because not only are you showing up in your own reading, which I like very much, not only does it deal with notions of control of oneself rather than one's surroundings, which is what we have been talking about, but the complement of the Eight of Pentacles is continue to work on this, continue to work on yourself. This is the way out and through for you. Now, you've already started, and that's absolutely beautiful, and I feel like for a lot of you, you are already feeling the results of this. Perhaps to a small degree at the moment, but you're doing it, and that's the important thing, because further work here from you on your internal space, you know, a further willingness to be able to sit with all of these bits of you will bring you closer and closer to the power that you were born to wield. You know, it's really stepping into your power, and that power doesn't come from controlling armies and dictating, you know, X, Y, and Z. I love the fact that the Emperor is depicted as a tree here. A tree doesn't give a fuck about like who's like rampaging around. It's just sat there vibing, being a tree. I'm like, hi, I'm a tree. You can come and sit with me if you want. Come and climb me if you want. That's all cool. It doesn't stop my fundamental identity as a tree. Like, no matter what is going on around it, I'm still a fucking tree, and I'm a big tree, and I'm growing tall. And you know, the received wisdom of a tree is, however big it is above the ground, it's exactly as big underneath the ground. Its root system will match that. As above, so below. Keep working on being a tree, Aries. Keep working on your root system. And it doesn't matter then what is going on around you. It doesn't matter who is surrounding you, because you are always a fucking tree. I'm so proud of you, Aries. This is wicked. This is really, really good. Right, this is what I have for you. I've blathered on about twice as long as I like to spend on these readings, but it felt important. So know that I love you all very, very much, and I will see you soon.